Before we begin this journey through thousands of years of ancient Egyptian history, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. I release powerful documentary videos every week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of them. Your support helps this channel grow and allows us to keep creating high-quality content like this. Hit that subscribe button right now, and let's step back into the ancient world. For countless centuries, the pyramids of Egypt have risen above the shifting desert sands like silent guardians of a forgotten age. They watched empires rise and fall. They watched explorers, conquerors, scholars, and dreamers stand in awe. And yet, for most of human history, almost everything about the people who built them remained hidden, locked away behind an undeciphered language and the ruins of time. But in 1799, everything changed. A French soldier digging near the town of Rosetta uncovered a stone slab carved with 3 types of writing. What he didn't know was that this object, later known as the Rosetta Stone, would become the master key to unlocking an entire civilization that had been silent for nearly 2,000 years. With this discovery, the voices of ancient Egypt slowly returned, and their story from simple river villages to monumental architectural genius is more incredible than legends ever told. Today, you and I are going to walk through that full story, from the dawn of agriculture along the Nile to the rise of kings, to pyramids, dynasties, monuments, and mysteries that still challenge us today. This is the complete history of ancient Egypt, rewritten, reimagined, and presented for you in a powerful cinematic journey. Long before pharaohs, pyramids, or hieroglyphic writing, there was the river. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus famously said, "Egypt is the gift of the Nile." He wasn't exaggerating. The Nile was, and still is, the lifeline of the region. Every year, the river would flood, spreading nutrient-rich silt across its banks. In the middle of an unforgiving desert, this annual miracle turned barren land into fertile farmland. Thousands of years before the first dynasty, small communities began to gather along the riverbanks. They hunted fish and birds, they farmed wheat and barley, and they sculpted simple tools from bone and stone. Over time, these tiny groups grew into organized settlements, each developing unique cultures shaped by the rhythm of the river. The earliest evidence shows us that between 9,000 and 6,000 BCE, the Nile Valley supported vibrant cultures who built huts from reeds, crafted pottery, made tools, domesticated livestock, and developed some of the earliest agricultural systems in human history. These were the ancestors of Egypt long before Egypt existed. As populations expanded, communities became more structured. Some of the earliest known cultures include the Fayum culture, located near a massive lake southwest of modern Cairo. This culture flourished with farming, fishing, and early food storage innovations. They created underground pits to preserve grain, an early form of granary. The Merenide culture, situated in the Nile Delta, this group developed advanced pottery, cultivated crops, and lived in organized settlements with clear social structures. The Elamari and Badarian cultures these early Upper Egyptian cultures produced fine pottery, crafted tools with precision, and established early burial traditions that reflected their beliefs about life and death. The Naqada cultures, I, II, and III, these were the most influential pre-dynastic societies. They developed trade networks, produced ornate pottery, and built increasingly complex settlements. Most importantly, they laid the cultural foundation that would later blossom into pharaonic Egypt. As these regions expanded, competition grew. Control of water, agricultural land, trade routes, and religious influence became increasingly important. And eventually, these independent cultures began merging, sometimes peacefully, sometimes through conflict, into larger political units. Chapter 3. The Rise of Two Lands. By around 3200 BCE, 2 large kingdoms emerged. Upper Egypt in the south, represented by a white crown. Lower Egypt in the north, represented by a red crown. Each kingdom had its own rulers, symbols, and traditions, but both shared the same deep dependence on the Nile. Tensions rose as both regions sought dominance. Powerful city-states like Hierakonpolis, Naqada, and Thinis competed for influence. And in this era, the first powerful chiefs appeared, individuals whose influence stretched beyond local villages, signaling the early formation of kingship. Archaeologists have discovered mace heads, palettes, and ceremonial objects depicting rulers engaged in warfare, hunting, and rituals, symbols of authority that foreshadowed what was coming. Then, everything changed with one leader. Chapter 4, Unification. The first pharaoh. Around 3000 BCE, a powerful ruler emerged from Upper Egypt. Some ancient records call him Narmer. Others speak of Menes. Whether they were the same person or two different kings remains debated, but one thing is certain. He unified Egypt. This unification wasn't merely symbolic. It brought together. Both crowns combined into the double crown, both regions administered under one ruler. Both cultures merged into a single national identity. This moment marks the beginning of dynastic Egypt, nearly 3,000 years of kings, queens, monuments, religion, warfare, innovation, and cultural brilliance. Narmer's victory palette, one of the most iconic artifacts in Egyptian history, shows him wearing both crowns, a visual declaration that Egypt had become one kingdom. Under his leadership and under his successors, Egypt quickly grew into a centralized, powerful, and wealthy state. Administration expanded. Trade networks reached into the Levant, Nubia, and deeper into Africa. Writing systems, the earliest hieroglyphs, emerged to keep track of goods, land, and royal decrees. Egypt had become a nation. Chapter 5, The First Dynasty, Foundations of a Kingdom. Following unification, the First Dynasty laid the foundation for everything that would come after. Rulers such as Horaha, Jair, Jet, Din, Anijib, Semerket expanded Egypt through military campaigns, developed organized taxation systems, built cities, and established burial practices for royalty. King Din, in particular, is remembered as one of the greatest early rulers. He was the first pharaoh shown wearing both crowns in a unified form. His administration stabilized the economy, strengthened the military, and encouraged monumental construction. Egypt, now united and prosperous, was ready for its first golden age. Chapter 6, The Second Dynasty, Turbulence and Transition. The Second Dynasty remains one of the most mysterious eras in Egyptian history. Records are scattered, names are uncertain, and timelines are debated. We do know that some rulers faced internal conflict, perhaps rival families claiming legitimacy. Some kings associated themselves with different gods, suggesting political or religious divisions. Yet, despite the instability, Egypt survived and prepared for an extraordinary transformation, because what came next would reshape human civilization forever. Chapter 7, The Third Dynasty and the Genius of Imhotep. The Third Dynasty began with a monumental figure, King Djoser, a visionary ruler who ordered one of the most revolutionary structures in human history. But the true mastermind behind that structure was his architect and advisor, Imhotep, a polymath engineer, physician, astronomer, and the earliest architect whose name we actually know. Imhotep's creation was the Step Pyramid at Saqqara, the earliest large-scale stone building ever constructed. Before this, Egyptian tombs were simple mud brick structures called mastabas. Imhotep reimagined the idea completely. He stacked multiple mastabas on top of each other. He used carved limestone instead of clay. He designed courtyards, ritual chambers, and complex underground passages. He created a structure that reached toward the heavens. This was not just a tomb, it was a statement, a declaration that the pharaoh was divine, a ruler whose afterlife was as important as his earthly rule. Djoser's pyramid transformed Egypt. It launched an era of innovation and architectural ambition that would climax with the Great Pyramids of Giza. Chapter 8, The Old Kingdom, Age of the Pyramids. As the Third Dynasty transitioned into the Fourth, Egypt reached unmatched levels of power. This was the age of Sneferu, the master pyramid builder, Khufu, who commissioned the Great Pyramid, Khafre, whose pyramid and sphinx still dominate the Giza Plateau, Menkaure, remembered for elegance and perfection in craftsmanship. Sneferu, in particular, was a genius of experimentation. He built multiple pyramids, learning from each attempt, shaping the engineering knowledge that made Khufu's Great Pyramid possible. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built around 2560 BCE, it remains one of the greatest architectural achievements in history. Over 2 million limestone blocks, perfect astronomical alignment, extreme precision in angles and measurements. No modern tools, no machines, only human ingenuity. This structure was not merely a tomb. It was a cosmic symbol, a ladder to the heavens, a testament to Egypt's organizational power, religion, mathematics, and engineering. Civilization had reached its peak, and for centuries, the Old Kingdom thrived. Chapter 9, Legacy of Early Egypt. By the time the Old Kingdom reached its end, Egypt had already transformed the world. They developed one of humanity's first centralized governments. They invented a monumental writing system. They mastered architecture, mathematics, and medicine. They established religious concepts still echoed today. They built monuments that defied time itself. But the story of Egypt was far from over. This was only the beginning. Final CTA, end of video. If you enjoyed this journey into the origins of Egypt, don't leave without hitting the like button. It helps this documentary reach more people. And if you love history, mysteries, and deep research documentaries like this, make sure you subscribe and turn on all notifications. I have more incredible videos coming, and you definitely don't want to miss them. Your support keeps this channel alive and allows me to create high quality cinematic content for you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next documentary.